Hi friends, this is Manish Pandey. Welcome back. In this video, you will understand the concept of Blue Prism process templates. I will give you the overview of this process template, how to use process template and why it is important to use this when starting to build a new automated process in Blue Prism. Let me tell you what is Blue Prism process template and what is the advantage of using this process template. Blue Prism process template is a standard template which comes as a Blue Prism XML file which can be imported into your studio. If you don't know how to import that, you can go through the previous video where I have shown how to download that Blue Prism XML file and how to import that file to studio. Process template is a template to start a new process to work on. It provides all the required steps which helps developers to start a new process and follow best practice. It helps in decreasing development time, create a robust automation, apply exception handling, retry mechanism, etc. It comes with the steps like launch and log in the required application, log out or close the applications, populate work queue, it means add items to work queue, get the items from queue for processing, process transactions, update item status and mark completed or failed, retry transactions if required, stop process when no queue items available. So it has the features and these are created as separate page which can be used as a reusable component. You can reuse this anywhere. Let me show you in Blue Prism Studio. So this is Blue Prism standard process template. This is the basic process template and you can see here we have a page, a different page created here for other actions. Let me give you the overview one by one. First we'll go with the main page, startup. So startup, this page we are calling here. So this is used to launch and login application, and application can be Windows or web application. So here it will go with the start, launch the application. So here it has a note stage, but you can remove this and you can use your own actions here. Basically this is a template, you need to modify here. This process template, this name can be renamed with your process name and you can use this. So here you need to put the action to launch that application, and before that if you have application where you need to log into that application and we need to get the credential, so here we have a generate credential name. We shows that get the resource name first. This is the function we are using which is coming from environment, get resource name, and then replace debug with the blank. So if you are getting like your resource name underscore debug, so it will replace with the blank and then it will combine, it will concatenate app1 name and then it will store in the app1 credential name. Now this one we have here. Now based on this we are getting the credentials which will give you output as a user name and password, and that you can put here. So let's say if you are using this Centrix Data Solutions, so while launching, after launching and before login, here you need to enter this staff number and password, that will be username and password, then you need to click on login, right? So here you will get the credential, launch that application, and then here in the login you will log in that, you will enter these details and click on login button. So this startup is to launch and log in the applications. Now here you can see while launching the application it has exception handling, this mechanism applied here which is like recover stage. So it will check and it is like checking the, it is available in this block. So recover stage, it will catch any exception which occurred here, and then in case of any exception it will store this here in the exception type and exception detail, and then resume and throw a system unavailable exceptions. So here in case of exception coming in the launch, we are throwing a separate exception, and exception type we are putting as a system unavailable exception, right, which you can see this one. Now in case of exception occurred while login, so we have a recover stage which will go and retry. So here we have a retry mechanism as well. So while login we have retry, and here we have data item stage, retry limit and retry count 0. So retry limit can be increased or decreased here. So here it will check retry count is less than retry limit and exception type equals to system exception or internal. In case of system exception or internal exception, and if it is 0, count is less than 3, then only it will retry. So first time if there is any exception, it will retry. So it will come here, go to count, it will increase the retry count plus 1, it means 0 plus 1, so it will be 1, and then resume, and then it will perform the next step. If you want anything you can do, or like close and then start again, something like that. So you can do here. So it has the retry mechanism, it has exception handling here. Now coming to populate queue. Populate queue is used to read data from your database, your Excel, CSV file or anywhere, and then add those items to queue, to work queue. For this one we have a separate page that we are just calling to this main page. So populate queue, first it will acquire the lock. So it works with the multiple sessions, it means multiple boards. One board will go acquire the lock, and then if lock acquired got lock, yes, so here you will put the you will create a separate page to read the data, read the Excel file and add that to the collection, right, and add items to queue. If another board is coming here, so it will not able to acquire the lock, so it will go to end, right. So it will acquire the lock and at the end it will release the lock. So if you are acquiring any lock and you are done with that process, so bot will also release the lock. So this is the best practice we need to use. So that's why we have this process template that we use to create automation. This is the starting point that we need to use, and here we have a best practices applied here. You just need to follow here, you need to modify these things. So here we have lock name. If you are acquiring Excel, so you can put here any name like Excel lock. If you are working on any other things, you want to put the name, you can change here, the lock name you can change here, and then token will be taken here, and then here we are checking that token, right. So if there is any exception while adding the items to queue, it will go to recover, and then in case of exception also it will release the lock. So if it is success or there is any exception, board should release the lock and throw an error. So if there is any exception while adding the items to queue, so board should not go next, it will just throw an exception and stop the board, right. So it is going to throw exception, but that is exception occurred here, it will not throw a separate exception, it will just throw whatever coming from here, from this part, right. Now coming to main page again. Now here we have get next items. Now we need to get item one by one from queue and then process that. The get next item will give you the next item to start processing. Now coming to got item. So after getting, you will get here item ID. So if it has any value in this item ID, so it will check item ID not equal to blank. So if yes, if it has the data, it will go to work step 1, work step 2 and work step 3. So it has 3 steps added here by default. If you have only one step, no problem, you can delete these two pages and just take only one. If you want to add more, you can add more here. Now let me show you all this work step 1, 2, 3. So work step 1, it has the steps mentioned like let's say you have launched and log in the application. Now after that you need to click on order button, you need to click on add new button, order buttons, you need to enter the details there and then click on submit, right. So if you want to divide these things page by page, action by action, so that's why we have steps. So here for this we have a block where it will check if there is any exception here, it will recover here, retry 3 times, and if it is able to recover this within 3 limits, so it will be passed to the next step. It will go to work step 2, it will do the same thing. You need to remove these things and you need to add your own step here in the work step 3. Now you can see here we have 2 blocks, this one and this one. So depends on your process. Sometime in case of one step, in case of one work step, you need to follow a different way, you need to throw a different exception, or sometime you need to retry that, sometime you do not need to retry that, right. So here we have step 1, step 1a, step 1b. In case of exception here, it is going to recover, retry and then resume, right. Now after that it will reset the retry count of this one. So if it is success here, so it will reset the retry count here, that will reset to 0, because if there any exception, it will increase the count like retry count 1, 2, 3 like that. So if it is coming here, it means there is no exception now, it is done. So it will reset that and then it will come again. So now we have a different block. So that's why if we are coming here, so our retry count should be 0, because now we are going to use the same retry count here as well. That's why this should be reset. So it will again recover, retry, resume, all these things will be performed here. So exception handling is applied here in a very efficient way. Now coming to main page again. Now here, in case of any exception in work steps, it has a block and you can see it has a separate recover stage. It will recover any exception occurred here and then store the exception data, type and details, and then it will go to resume, and then in case of any exception here in the work, it will mark item as exception. It can be a business exception or system exception. So it will apply to the work queue items. So let me show you mark item as exception. So for this we have a separate page. It is coming here one by one. So if it is system unavailable, if the system exception is system unavailable, so it will release the item and then terminate that. It means throw a system exception and terminate that process. So here now you can see system unavailable, it will check is it system unavailable exception or exception type equals to login system exception. This you can see from here. While a startup, we are setting a different exception here, system unavailable exception, this one, right, and we are also putting some details here, right, and here also we are throwing exception which is coming from here. So that things we are checking, is it system unavailable exception or the type is login system exception. If these are the exceptions, then what we are doing, we are just setting the defer, like we are going to defer that item here and that item can be picked next time. So until now, so what will happen here, the now it means current date time will be applied to that specific item and then it will be deferred. So what will be the benefit of using this defer and using now? Next time when both will pick next item, so this item can be processed, right. Now it will release that and terminate that. So in terminating, what is happening, it is storing that error message to the consecutive exception limit, and this is getting stored, right, in the details. Now if this is not system unavailable exceptions, it will go and check like retry exception required or not. So retry, how we are checking that retry required or not. So in case of system exception equal to like exception type equal to system exception or exception type equals to internal, in that case board should retry that case. So in case of retry, it is going here and then tag the item. Tag item means it is going to set as a system exception for that specific item, and then it will also mark that item as a system exception. So it will mark item as a exception, and then those details will be added to the queue item. And then after that, it is also coming and checking that previous exception equals to current exception, like this detail. So if any value added to the previous exception and this time also same exception applied, so it will check, is it same exception? So it will add consecutive count plus 1. It means here, so 1 0 plus 1, and then it will check the limit, like 1 greater than equal to, so consecutive exception count currently 1 greater than equals to limit is 3, so no, false. So it will go here and add that. It means this is exception is same as the previous one, but the consecutive limit has not been reached. That's why it will come to this. Now here, if it will check 3, let's say 3 greater than equals to 3. So yes, so it will come here. So consecutive exception limit has been reached. So throw a new exception to terminate a process. Now it will terminate that. Now in case this is not previous exception, so it will show that this exception is different from the previous one. So this is different one. So now it will reset the previous exception detail, and also it will reset the consecutive exception count. So here reset means it's going to add the exception details. So what is the exception details? That is coming from this exception, from this walk step exception. So this will be added to the previous exception, because this is not a same, this is new one. So that's why a new exception will be added to this one, so that next time if boat is coming through this step, a boat is throwing the same exception or another exception again, so it will come here, and then this time again it will check this previous exception equal to current exception or not, right? That's why it is storing this previous exception detail. Now in case this is not system exception, so what is the next exception? So if it is not system exception, so we'll have a business exception. So in case of business exception, you know that we do not retry that. So we'll just tag item with the business exception, and then it says that do not retry this type of exception, just mark the queue item and carry on. So we are marking the exception as a business exception and setting the retry false, keep locked false. So item should not be logged, retry should not required, right? And then it will go to reset the consecutive exceptions. So it will set previous exception blank, consecutive exception count 0. Now here we have, like in the mark item, you saw that two type exception, system exception and business exception. In case of system exception, we are retrying, and in case of business exception, we are not retrying, just setting the tag item, mark item as a business exception and skip that. So it will pick next item. Now coming to the next one. So after mark item exception, we have reset global data. So reset global data we are using to reset the any data item we are using, we are setting to their default value like 0, and we can also use this counter, we can take the retry count also 0. So those values that you want to keep it fresh, so that you can start a new item again, so that it cannot impact to other item. Let's say in the first item you got any error and it has the exception details, it has the system exceptions in the exception type, and it has some value in the exception details, it has the retry count equal to 1 2 3 something like that. So that should be reset, to its default value, so that if board is going to pick next item, it should not impact to that, right? Now after that, mark item as a completed. Mark item as a completed means whenever board is completing this item successfully without any issue, so that item should be marked as a completed. So for this we have a separate page. You can see for this we are just going to set item as a completed, mark item as a completed. So this set status is different, mark item completed is different, right? If you see here in the control and then go to here, so let's say here we have, so this tick mark you can see this is mark item completed, this is system exception, mark system exception, but here we have a status, here we have putting like skipped. For business exception we are saying skipped, for system exception we are putting exception, for completed we are putting completed, right? So status is this one, mark completed is this one, this first column, and then after that we are resetting this with the default one. So previous exception details will be blank, consecutive exception count will be 0, because now it will start with a new item as a phrase. Now coming to the main page, so here you can see after step 3 is going to mark item is completed, and then it's going to reset the global data so that it can pick next item. Now coming to the top here, in case of no data it will go here. If there is no items available in the queue, it will go here and no items available, and then it will close down. So what is close down? Close down, this is the page state, it means we are calling a different page. Close down is used to log out from your application and close that application. It can be a browser or Windows application. So application should be closed. Now here you need to put a action steps to log out that, like click on log out button, something like that, and after that you need to terminate that. In case of exception in logout, it will go to recover part, and if bot is not able to log out process smoothly, so it will directly go and terminate that, right? So this is the close down. Now after that you can see here, and then after this we have count -1, stop item, stop after items -1. So what is this? This is, so let's say here we have a data item stage, stop after items 9999999, this value we have, the maximum value. Let's say you want to stop a bot after 10 items, it means you want to just process 10 items, but in your queue you have 100 of records, but you want to process only 10 items. So here you can update the value as a 10, here you will put 10 value. Now here let's say bot has picked one item, it has processed here, and after completing the item, or like after marking item as an exception, it will come here and count item. So 10 -1, so we have set 10, now it will minus here 10 -1, so now 9. So now 9 value will be stored in this stop after items. Now it will check here in the stop, so it has the stop features which shows that is a stop requested, stop after items equal to 0, and local time greater than stop after time. Now you can see here we have a stop after time and a stop after items. So there are 3 ways to stop your bot. 1, you can request a stop from control room, so it will stop the process once bot will reach to this step, so it will stop that smoothly, right? Killing is different thing, terminating is different thing, stop. Now second way to stop, that based on the items, if you want to just process 10 items and after that you want to stop that, so smoothly it will stop that, it will reach here, it will say that okay 10 items equals to 0, no. So here every time we are decreasing that, so 10 -1 9, once it will come here, and at the end it will have 1, so 1 -1 0. Now at the end all the 10 data queue items have been processed, so it will come here, now it will 0, so it will check stop item 0 equals to 0, yes. So any of this condition true, so it will go to yes part. So yes, now all the items processed, so it will go close down and go to end, right? But we have items available in the queue, but we are just checking 10 items should be only processed, so we are closing that, right? Third option, we have local time greater than stop after time. So here if you want to put 6 p.m. like you don't want to process after 6 p.m. as per the business requirement. You don't want to process after 6 p.m. So what you will do, you will set here local time, your local time, if it is greater than 6 p.m. or greater than this time, so board should directly go and close down, right? So there are 3 steps here, there are 3 way to stop your board smoothly, right? So we have this option. If it is not, these are not matched here, so it will go get next item, check here and process again. Now come again, check everything, process again. So only first time it will come with this way, after that it will come by that way, like from this way, stop way, right? And every time it will check stop is required, stop required, stop required or not. If 10 items processed, now we will have 0 equals 0, it will stop that. So this is the complete like process template overview. It has everything put in a very good way, right? It has a best practice applied here, and using this you will able to decrease your development time. You can see here the example. Let's say I have one I have created this Centrix data solutions, and here I put everything like manually, like myself I did that, like created a put a collection, put a block stage, put a data item stage, these things, put the name and then acquire the lock, got the token, add items to queue. I put everything here, right? And when I did that, so it took my lots of time to complete this process. But now if we have this process template, so we have everything here, and now we just need to modify that and work on that. I hope this is very useful for you. Start doing that one. Once you are done with this, you can go with the process template 2, which is the advanced version. Thank you so much.